Our Tikkun Leil Shavuot is coming up in just under 2 weeks. It's on Thursday, May the 21st. And the Tikkun Leil Shavuot is a way of reenacting the revelation at Sinai. And so traditionally we stay up, in fact, all the way until Shacharit in the morning. And we stay up and we study together. And our Tikkun Leil Shavuot for years has been our largest study event of the year. And so let me just quickly share what it is that we're going to be looking at this year. The theme is Refuah Shlema, complete healing of body and spirit. And so it starts at 5:30 on Thursday, May the 21st. And we're going to be starting with a controversial, fun topic: why can't doctors go to heaven? Why is it that when so many Jews go into the medical profession, we have some Jewish texts, not loads, but some, saying that doctors can't get to heaven? In fact, it says something even more negative. We're going to look at those texts and what they tell us about healing in Judaism, different philosophies and theologies of healing. Who is responsible for healing? At around 6:30, we then have our vegetarian potluck, and we eat like royalty. It's wonderful. You bring food for yourself and to share. Traditionally, during the Tikkun Leil, people often bring dairy food. Dairy is an interesting custom over Shavuot. And so, but you don't have to. But we encourage you to bring food for yourself and to share if you're staying. After that, at around 7:30, the second study session, is going to be called Healing Our Souls. And this is more about mental health as opposed to physical health. What do we learn from our tradition about feelings of despair and hopelessness? Do we live with them, or are we meant to get rid of them? And what does it mean to have some voices in our tradition say, it's a mitzvah to be happy, so just be happy? What does that mean for those who aren't happy? What are the tools? And there are valuable tools in our tradition to help us wrestle with depression and despair. What do we do with them? So that's going to be a rather emotional, challenging session, a really important session. Then around 9 o'clock in the evening, our cheesecake competition. And we really encourage you to bring a cheesecake, make a cheesecake, so long as you put the ingredients, you list the ingredients so that everybody knows what's in it. And the winner gets a certificate and bragging rights. Then at about 9:30, we'll be looking at healing magic, incantations and amulets. Judaism, for a long time, for most of Judaism, actually had a very rich history of healing through incantations and amulets. In fact, it was only until very recently that amulets were very prominent in Judaism. It's possible that the growth of one movement, the Hasidic movement, which really flourished based on rebbes going around and selling amulets, it's possible that that's actually one of the reasons why most people don't have amulets now, because the mainstream Jewish community disliked that so much, disliked that movement so much, that they then disliked the use of amulets. And it's possible, I was just reading yesterday, it's possible that that's one of the reasons why amulets seem to have disappeared in contemporary Judaism. But amulets were really important in terms of healing, and so were incantations. We'll be looking at Maimonides, who talks about this. We'll be looking at Talmudic pages which talk about this, talk about laying of hands on people to heal them, saying a spell over a snake bite or a scorpion sting, and whether or not it's appropriate. Does that count as witchcraft? And so on. So we'll be looking at that as an interesting way to explore what does it mean to be contemporary Jews, to pray for healing, in particular in our Shabbat service. And then at around 11 p.m, going on late into the night, and it always depends on how tired we are and how many of us there are, what time we finish. Sometimes we've gone until 3 or even nearly 4 in the morning. It's been a very exciting as we go all the way through the evening. About 11 o'clock, the last session is called A Cure Worse Than the Disease, because we're going to be looking at a couple of pages in particular in Talmud of rabbinic cures, and how some of them are actually possibly effective and some of them are really negative. And we're going to be, when I say negative, as in how could you possibly think that would be a cure? If someone is stabbed by a sword eating cress, probably isn't going to help much. What were the rabbis doing? Why were they suggesting these things? There's actually good reasons for why the rabbis thought that certain things would be cures. For example, if you have a fever, why is it that you go to sticks in particular, sticks from a particular bush? There's actually a good reason for that. So that's going to be a really interesting evening, a fascinating evening of learning about Jewish healing. And we all need healing. Healing is good. Physical healing, emotional healing, mental, spiritual healing, we all need it. And so why not study it to explore it so that we can take healing as a community further? So that's going to be Thursday, May the 21st. That's going to be starting at 5:30. And if you want to, if you're able to, stay all the way into the evening. If you're not able to, that's okay. Stay for as long as you can. Now, because I mentioned the second session, Healing Our Souls, and because we're in Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to add a prayer which I will be including in some liturgy which we're going to be sending around to our community. This is a prayer for healing for mental illness by Rabbi Elliot Kukia from the Bay Area Jewish Healing Center. A prayer for healing for mental illness. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who live with mental illness, their caregivers, families, and friends. May they walk in the footsteps of Jacob, King Saul, Miriam, Hannah, and Naomi, who struggled with dark moods, hopelessness, isolation, and terrors, but survived and led our people. Just as our father Jacob spent the night wrestling with an angel and prevailed, may all those who live with mental illness be granted the endurance to wrestle with their pain and prevail night upon night. Grace them with the faith to know that though like Jacob they may be wounded, shaped and renamed by this struggle, still they will live on to continue an ever unfolding, unpredictable path toward healing. May they not be alone on this path, but accompanied by their families, friends, caregivers, ancestors, and the divine presence. Surround them with loving kindness, grace, and companionship, and spread over them a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace and wholeness, and let us say, Amen. So please put in your calendar for Thursday, May the 21st, for our Tikkun Leil Shavuot, looking at physical and mental healing. And that prayer for mental healing is going to be in our prayer service tonight. It's Jed playing with me this evening. I do hope you'll be able to join. It's our conservative service tomorrow, and of course there's Torah study before that. I really hope to see you soon, and I wish you Shabbat Shalom.